Okay, we are live with the Cosmic Center ladies this week. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, I guess I'll start. I'm Reverend Sharon Elizabeth, and also known as Baba Sharon, which is my spiritual name. And I head the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light, the beautiful light-filled community. So that's who I am.
Go ahead.
And my name is Catherine. I am also a part of the Cosmic Center Soul Light family. I came into the Cosmic Center a few years ago after having a miraculous spiritual awakening, and it's just been a beautiful flow, divine flow ever since.
Okay, and I'm May, Astrology with May, and I am part of the Cosmic Center family. But I'm located in New York, so whenever I go down, which will be very soon, I'll get to visit all the people at the Cosmic Center. And let's see what we've got going on today. So today our topic is about connecting with the divine, which we call God, but some people are still trying to sort out how they're connecting in general to the spiritual. So no pushing as far as that goes. But this question, weirdly enough, has come up more than once to me directly. And what I've realized is that, and so I asked my two favorite people at the Cosmic Center to help me talk about it, is that quite a lot of people actually do not feel connected to the divine or to God, or don't feel like they can do it unfacilitated or consistently. And so that's what we're here to talk about, is all of those things, because you definitely can do it. And if you aren't quite doing it yet, it might be because you're out of practice, or you just didn't realize that it was happening, whether you were thinking it or not. So I'm going to let Baba Sharon start us out with a couple of comments on this. We're going to do this.
Yes, the first thing that I want to say is one, all humanity is connected, and that we all are divine sparks. Now, we come from, and it is said in many different traditions, so not just one tradition, that we are divine sparks, not necessarily from this reality where we have our physical existence in this three-dimensional 3D world, but also we come from something way beyond this. Okay, and that's the part that's what we're trying to connect to, our true, authentic selves, which in truth, we are all divine sparks. We hold a flame, we hold a light. It's a frequency and it is an energy. So let's start off that everybody, okay, if you are a human, okay, on this planet, and there are beyond, but let's just stick to the ones that are here, okay, we all have this divine spark within us that connects us to the much higher parts of ourselves, called the universe. We could call it God, but there's a sense in all of us that says there's more going on than just my physical body. So everybody's experienced a dream, I would think. Everybody might have experienced like a shot of intuition, like, I don't know if I should do that. And if you didn't follow it, you did and said, I should have listened to myself. Okay, these are all examples, of day-to-day activities where these little sparks, these little ideas that come in. And so you could say that, yeah, there's much more going on. And we can choose to say, I really want to develop that connection. Because what we'll find, if we develop that connection, okay, we will first of all be fulfilled, being on a path of seeking or spiritual path. When you are in what the Sanskrit calls dharma, when you're in dharma, that your soul, you, the whole of you, feels like in balance. If you look at people who can have as much money as they want, the rising career, that's temporary, and a lot of times they don't feel fulfilled. Okay, with the spiritual spark, as you walk in that journey, will help that fulfillment. You'll just feel good about it and passionate about it.
Now, let's not, Catherine, you had mentioned in your introduction, you had a moment or a very distinctive story that you want to share. And I want to hear it because I haven't heard the story yet.
It's it's a huge story. So I will do my best to break it down. My first spiritual, I will say first, because it was the first spontaneous awakening that I had in 2018. I didn't know anything about spirituality other than, Bible school when I was a little girl. But I wasn't really in alignment with the Christian religion at the time. So I'd really fallen out of alignment. But I was in meditation, and I had a just extreme awakening, and my entire body filled up with light. And I shot out of my body, and I went into this space of complete blackness. It was dark. There was nothing there except me. So I was everything and nothing all at the same time. And I said, this is what it is. This is what it is. This is what it's like. I want to go back. And immediately I shot right back into my body, because as I was everything and nothing all at the same time, there was nothing for me to experience. There was nothing for me to be with. There was no other soul except for myself. And so I immediately shot back down and had no idea exactly what had taken place. A few years later, I had another extreme experience where I felt the Holy Spirit, and I had a fall to your knees, weep at your feet moment. And that was the moment that things completely shifted for me. And from there, it was a huge, huge thing. But as far as that divine connection came in, because mine was all completely soul contracted, divinely orchestrated for me to be activated and to come online and to remember who I am, my soul, remember the divine. It took a while, though, for me to really go in and do the energetic clearing that was required in order for me to begin to feel like I was connecting. And I say it that way because I knew that I was. My spiritual team was coming in. My guidance system was coming in, but I felt like it wasn't. And so I think that, it's really important as we are, talking about how to connect with the divine, to know that you always are. It's always there, here, listening, communicating with you. There's whispers that are coming in. And in the very beginning, when I was learning my guidance system, the biggest thing that they told me all the time was your heart. Listen to your heart, follow your heart. Where is it guiding you? Where is that pull coming? How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel elated and joyful and happy? Or is it something that's bringing you into a place of that doesn't feel good, or a place of fear, something like that? And as I continue to move forward in learning and growing how to do that, I just always kept coming back to the heart every time, especially in the beginning, before I was really able to really feel and hear my team. And I think that that's incredibly important.
Oh my goodness, I'm trying to reset this a certain way. I couldn't agree with you more on the feeling nature of the divine spark. And I think this is one that we should, because this is probably where a lot of folks get confused. Now, there's what we call even we will call it the monkey mind. That's a certain way, okay? And the monkey mind has a voice. And then the divine voice is somewhere in there. So we should take a half a beat for folks that are like, what do you mean voice? Like, we should take a half a beat because the clearing of what you're describing, I think, has a connection to this monkey mind stuff
Yeah.
So who wants to take that one?
I would just say to everybody who listens to this, look, we're more complex than we could ever imagine. Okay. So let's just take the physical body. All right. We have a mind. So, we know what that is. And that's where a lot of our thoughts come in and so forth. We're also emotional beings. Okay. And, you know, um, I just remember I had an experience one time and, about success and, that's important in life. And, you have to make money and, the whole regular stuff that's there. Okay. And all of us kind of go through that because it's an expectation, right? You're told like, hey, this is what success is. Okay. This is what success is. And this is how it should be. But at the same time, okay, you have that mental and you have the emotional and you have the physical body, which was why they say body, mind, and spirit are integrated. And a lot of time what happens, okay, and it could be trauma. It could be, different things where people have had a heart or something had really hurt the heart, okay, because this is not a walk in the park. I think we could all agree on that. Okay. But as we said before, there is that spark. And sometimes, depending on the environment that you find yourself in, that mind can override everything and a program, okay, the expectation of others. Okay. And sometimes you fall into that same program. And so you're overriding something that's very deep inside of you. And every now and again, it kind of makes a shift in the heart, or you'll feel an emotion, okay, or you just sad and want to cry. You don't know why, because there's been that disconnect. Just a simple solution, I would say, is this. It's so simple. I really want to know, okay, who I truly am. And if there is a higher power or something I'm aligned with, okay, I really, really want to know what that is. That is basically a prayer. That's an intention. It's that simple. Please. Then you have to then pay attention. Pay attention. And that you're not going to pay attention if you find yourself rushing and stressing and all of that. What are some simple steps? Well, what about just breathing?
Mhm.
Deep breaths. That's it. Real simple. There's nothing dramatic. Nobody has to come down in a cloud. You don't have to have some kind of, phenomenal experience, but you experience what? Peace. What does peace feel like? What does it feel like when you feel balanced? Okay. When you start moving in those directions, you are then beginning to start the connection. When you start to feel, I feel happy, joyful and happy is a beautiful, emotional, energetic. That's divine. There are names for that. Okay. That is a connection. What if you just love music and you play music
Mhm.
and that music brings you what? Joy. Okay. You're connecting and not realizing you're connecting. What doing more of that? So the override of the mental body and the ego body, like, oh, we got to do this. These are the things to do list and all. We all have that, and it has its place. It's useful. But I think a lot of people say, well, I don't feel anything. I don't feel connected to divine. However, you can be ecstatic when you're dancing and being full of joy. You're connected. And if you say, gee, I'd like to feel like that all of the time, I'd like to feel centered and joyful and happy, and you put forth that intention and start doing the things that bring you joy. Everybody says, oh, who listens to opera? That's crazy. Your soul may love opera. Okay. And you want to play opera all the time. And you don't care what other people say, right? You don't care. You said, okay, that's nice, and we can hang out. But you know what? There's something about opera that moves me and makes me feel good. That's tapping into the higher parts of yourself. That's coming into the alignment. And just like anything else, you have to intend it and then you have to walk it. You have put action into it, just like a muscle. If I want some biceps that are strong, I have to go ahead and exercise my physical body, my arms to do that. Same thing like this too. And one of the things too, just before I want to pass this on to you guys, is with the spiritual, it comes, and you mentioned it, May, like a whisper.
Mhm.
It's not loud. It's not loud. And what I did for years, for me, because the monkey mind started going. And I'd go, shh. I literally went, shh. And when oh, this could happen and that could happen. This would be worse and stress. The stress, shh. And I learned the technique to breathe, deep breaths. And that brought me back on center. And I just kept on practicing it, even when I didn't know what I was doing. But I wanted to have that feeling of fullness, of balance and peace. And that helped me to walk that path to discover more and more.
Yeah. I think that's a great thing to explain. You can. So, what I find happens a lot, especially in New York, a lot of people are very stressed.
Mhm.
Now, that's true everywhere. New York people do it professionally. They don't
Yes,
seem to understand that there's an alternative like
yes.
thing
And
to
I am from New York.
exactly. But they're not the only ones, and they're not the only city. And you don't have to live in a city to be stressed out of
Yeah.
your mind. You can live anywhere,
Right.
and there'll be stressors. What I think is really interesting, and what I meant by that is that so much of your life, sometimes depending on upbringing, is a different voice that is not necessarily God. And what I mean by that is it's the stressed voice. In other words, it's the voice of worry that has you thinking, oh, my bills, oh, if you have kids, oh, my kids, oh, this, oh, that. And these voices, they are going to continually pile up. And a lot of times that's what the monkey mind actually is. That's why just trying to quiet the monkey mind is really difficult because, and here's the thing that's kind of interesting. People think that, oh, I just can't hear God, or I just can't. It's because you've gotten really, really good as an exercise at giving those voices more volume. And it's not something that's bad. In some case, it just is what it is. I think in some cases, and I'd love to hear what Catherine or Baba Sharon, you think about this, but it's just that you've had practice listening to those voices. And you just have to start searching through those voices. So, one thing I think you can do potentially is identify those voices and maybe even give them a name if you can, just so you can separate them from the other voices. And then you could ask them, hey, I need to hear the other voices. It sounds kind of silly, but there's lots of techniques, and we'll try to go through some more. Go ahead. How do you guys react to that? I would like to see. What do you
Yeah, so I've had quite a bit of experience with that in the very beginning, trying to discern what was coming in, what I was hearing, what I was listening to. And in the beginning, I didn't realize that some of the things that I was listening to weren't of the highest, right? They were not in alignment with the highest benevolent spirit. And I just didn't realize that at the time. It's not necessarily that they were bad, right? Because I used those as teachers to get me to this point where I'm at now. But I think you're absolutely right when it comes to doing what you can to silence some of the voices. And of course, we can go into somatic practices. We can do the breath work as well as yoga and dancing. Even going for walks is really good. Going for walks by the beach or in the mountains, whatever. All of that stuff is really good to help settle those brain waves down and to calm those voices, right? Because those voices come in depending on our energetic frequency. And so, if our energetic vibration is, let's say, more in alignment with the lower stuff, then it's easier for those voices to come through. But when you begin to still yourself, coming back into a center balance, and you begin to raise your energetic frequency, it those voices that the monkey mind, those things that are lying to you, that are causing fear and doubt and worry and anxiety, those get a moment to calm down. And in those moments of calming down, that's when the light can come in. That's when the highest benevolent frequencies are allowed to actually flow through. And then in those still moments, and they come in even when those loud voices are quiet. Again, it's still a whisper. It's a feeling. It's the frequency can still whisper even with everything else just quiet. But it's very important to take those moments in that practice to do that, because as we continue to quiet and still things, those whispers eventually get louder, or even if it's not louder, we're able to feel them and hear them more clearly, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
It
And,
sounds like you have something.
right,
Yeah.
I want to say in alignment with that, another topic about authenticity. Okay. I always talk about the program because there's certain expectations, right? And but as we begin to have the courage to
Mhm.
say, Dad, I really don't want to be a dentist, an artist, okay? And that takes courage. It's not easy to do that, but then usually what happens for many people, they just so unhappy. They have the beautiful car, they have the house, they have the things that said, hey, this is what happiness is. And at the end of the day, they don't feel fulfilled. In fact, they look to escape happiness in other ways. They're trying to find it, whether it's through drugs or addiction or whatever addiction out there. And exactly what Catherine, you were saying, May, what energy are you going to feed into? Okay. Now we have a beautiful physical body. It is the temple, but it most certainly is subjective to lower vibrations. I know they call them back in the day the seven deadly sins or whatever, right? So, they used to have these little cartoons where they had like the little devil in one ear and the little angel in the other ear. Okay. And just kind of listening to the more lofty, it's quiet, the more lofty. And I think what helps is when that happens, we're so busy with the override. It's like, oh, it's there, but they didn't pay attention to it. So it's being put down by louder noise. What's the loud noise? The world as we see it. That's the loud noise. And there's a lot of distractions to it, right? So I think part of it is one way is saying, you know what? And I really do admire those people that say, I'm going to be who I am. And I don't care who likes it and who doesn't like it. Bravo for them. Easier said than done. And of course, we're in the world, we have to kind of balance everything. But even little steps of being your authentic self and saying no to something that you don't like or enjoy. Okay, or taking on something, whether people say, I think that's silly, it doesn't matter. This is who I am. And the more you can express who you truly are, think back as a little kid when at that time you thought you could do anything. What was that? Because the world overrode that.
Yeah.
And that's where you're not in balance, you're not happy, and it seems that nothing can actually satisfy that deep-seated joy that we're all seeking for. Because we are all souls. We're souls. If somebody says, oh, I don't know that, well, I'm here to tell you. You have a soul and you're so much more. You're more than your body. You're more than your mind. You're more than your emotions. If you actually know who you really are, Okay. And all traditions, they talk about this, so, part of that in listening to that small voice, there's many different ways, the breath. What about doing something joyful that you truly enjoy? What about having the courage to say, you know what? I'm going to be my authentic self in this issue. I'm not going to go along with the program. Do you know how satisfying that is? And not only that, you encourage others to be authentic too. You said, I just was going along with everybody, but I really don't like this, or I would really prefer to do that. There's a sense of empowerment. And this extra sensory stuff that you feel, guess what that is? The divine. That's you tapping into God, the universe, the divine, whatever name. That's that higher part of yourself that you're tapping into. What if you made the decision to really do that in whichever way that works for you?
I think one thing that might be helpful to talk about is that when you first start, so there's prayer and there's meditation. I think the monkey mind stuff with meditation is even harder. And then prayer is actually harder than a lot of folks sometimes. Okay, some people they pray kind of mean stuff, so that's not going to really work. And they're praying for the downfall of their enemies. Turns out those are also God's children, so that's not going to happen quite the way that you think of it. But I think with this prayer, what do you think about the idea of going ahead and pretending he's real, because he is, or she, or whatever the divine being is? Just talk to that being until you finally can start quieting your mind with the belief that they're listening, because they are, and that they are there to help. What do you think about that, and in the whole trajectory of trying to connect with the divine? Who wants to take that one? Go ahead. Go, Sure. How do you want to think about it?
So for me, when I am in prayer meditation, I honestly intermingle both of them at once, right? And it's more than the prayer request. It's very important to feel that connection in your heart and in your soul. And it's in those moments when you feel that connection. I mean, there's no other, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like your prayer request is there and it's done because you can feel it and it's being received by such a loving embrace. And it's for me, it's also very important that as I am giving and prayers, I'm asking for prayers for whatever it might be, that it's always in alignment for the highest and most benevolent good for all. Not just myself, not just humanity, but all of universe as the creation of the multiverse, because we are all connected as one, right? And everybody, every soul in the multiverse is my brother and my sister. And I love them unconditionally. And I want what is best for them. I want them to be joyful and happy. So upon asking for anything, I do what I can to make sure that I put that, as the little small print, I guess you could say, only if it's in alignment for the highest good for all,
Yeah. I would also mention there are two beginner prayers, and I feel like I got these from Baba Sharon one time at the Cosmic Center. Two entry level prayers. You can ask God to give you strength to understand a situation. You can ask God to be with you in a conversation that you think is not going to be particularly pleasant. You can ask God to help you through. These are just straight up requests. They don't hurt anyone else. You don't have to feel worried that you didn't put the proper disclaimer in case you're in a bad mood. You just ask God to be there, help you with some wisdom, give you some insight, something. If you start with the easy ones, are there other easy ones that I didn't name that you can think of? Go ahead.
It's so interesting. I came across this book. It's called, that's why I just got up.
Oh, okay.
Life and How to Play It. It was written by Florence Scovel Shinn in the late 1800s. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that is so fundamental. I mean, fundamental. And I promise you, anyone that says, I really want to have a connection, I really, really do. And this book came into my life where at some point I was just caught up in the world, and I guess, my soul, I had a dream that said, this is not going to be good. You cannot, if you don't do something, your spiritual life, you're going to have like, a spiritual, I had a profound dream. And so that's how this book came into my life, a very interesting way. And I want to talk a little bit about affirmations. Affirmations. This is where we're going to work with the mental body as the human body. Now, a lot of us have been coming in and we're programmed, we're indoctrinated, okay, into certain things and how it should be. So along with, stepping forward to be your authentic self, but what if you had a booster, okay, that says, yes, you have the right to be your authentic self, and yes, you're a fantastic being, and do you remember who you are? And all the negative programming that's out there. Who do you think you are? You got to fall into fear. You better make that money or you've been impoverished forever. You all kinds of things. And then the monkey mind goes off into all directions, and that negativity, it gets reinforced. How do you break the cycle? Okay? Because you break the cycle because your life reflects what you believe. We are that powerful that when, as Catherine said, when you put forth an intention or prayer coming from the heart, I really, really, I'm not happy with my life. I'm not feeling fulfilled. What can I do? Hey, is there a God out there? If you're out there, can you help me? Can you assist? Then after that, you got to pay attention. There's a joke I used to say all the time, and it was, well, stop for a moment and pray for Jamaica. But it was where there was a storm, and this preacher guy says, we don't have to leave because God's going to save us. Everybody laughed, okay, except him. Next thing you know, he's on top of the roof. He says, I'm not staying because God is going to save me. Okay, meanwhile, a helicopter comes by, a boat comes by to save the guy. He ends up dying. He goes to the pearly gates. He says, I thought God was going to save me. He said, well, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. Okay, so so you have to pay attention. So what I love about the game of life and how to play it, and I have given this book back in the day, like long, 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 long time ago, at least 300. That was part of my ministry when I was in college. I was just passing this book out because this profoundly changed my life. I came in like everybody else with, programming, certain expectations, and I didn't know how to undo the program that I was born into. And it showed me the way to do it. And really what it is repetition. I did this to the point where, the way I was brought up is like, well, you suffer now, but when you go to heaven, you'll be happy then. This book said, no, you could be happy right now. You'll be connected right now. You don't have to wait. I'm like, really? What did I have to do? I did the affirmations. I repeated them over and over and over because it's getting into not just our mind, it's the conscious and the subconscious mind. It's really like moving out the old program that's not working for you and replacing it with the program that is going to work for you. You are worthy. You are beautiful. You're a divine spark. You are healthy. You are wealthy. Okay. You are joyful. You are happy. How often do we hear that in our lives? This book has affirmations in it. It changed my life completely. It brought things out that I didn't even know was in my head, that was running a program I was totally unconscious of. And this brought me into awareness to the point, okay, that I started to say the affirmations in my own voice. Back in the day, they had cassette tapes. But when I was driving to work, in my own voice, I would say affirmations that were relative to me. Okay, that I felt I didn't have a connection with God, that I didn't feel I was worthy of forgiveness, that, all the pressures what society gives you. And I picked those affirmations that said, you're just a loving being and joyful. You're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you're happy. I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, and I'm happy. I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, and I'm happy. And other ones, I am wealthy, I am healthy. The universe works in my favor all the time. I said it until it happened. It took a while, but I didn't stop because I had a lot of deprogramming to do to bring forth the light, which this helped me to do, to the point where I did it in my own voice, and I would play it on my way to work and coming back every single day. And my life was transformational once I got this all, and once I let the heart come forward. It was transformational. So it's an old book. It worked for me. There's old language in it, but there are many other books like that, a lot of self help books that talk like that. But I absolutely believe in affirmations and also visualizations. Why not? We have tools. We have these amazing tools because we're more than just this. We're the body, we're the emotions, we're the mentality, we have an and there's a lot of other subtle bodies. We have an etheric field. Okay, there's a lot of other things that are going on that we are part of. We are made of stardust. We have the same stuff as stars. So it causes you to expand your thoughts and your awareness, you know? So start with the simple stuff. A simple prayer. Hey, I'm talking to you. Hey, you.
Mhm.
I'm talking to you. Start using some affirmations. Start doing things you feel joyful of, and that energy will begin to come in. And as Catherine said, it'll get stronger and stronger to where there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
It's so interesting that you mentioned this book. I don't know, our all mutual friend, Liralai Farah. You guys know who I'm talking about?
Yes, yes,
So
of course.
beautiful. She's in Egypt, I think, already
Yeah,
at this
she's in
point.
Egypt right now. Yeah.
She and I connected on this book because she actually was listening to this book in the radio, and then I mentioned it, but I forgot the name of the author, and she's like, "This author," and I said, "No, it's not an Asian woman." She's like, "This is not an Asian woman," because I looked at the last name, it was Shin. I was like, "Are you talking about Asian woman?" Like, and so, but it's interesting because this book is so timeless. I think the more
Yeah.
you read it,
Yes.
the more you get from it. Because
Absolutely.
at the time that I first read this book, I did not, there was one key message in it. And then she told me a different message that she got in it. And then there's some messages even, but the one that I thought that I received from this book at the time that I needed it, that I would share that might resonate with people that are in different places of whether or not they can connect with God, is this idea that God being what it is, so to speak, can't, I mean, as you grow your ability to connect with God, meditate or pray and hear God, that's option A. That's very direct. But before you can do that as an individual, as you're growing that skill set, the only other option God has is to try to send other people to help you out. Okay. It's the only other option. And if you are just going to reject every single person, that's kind of the moral of your story. If you reject every single person, I would like to give, you are feeling unabundant. Someone comes, tries to give you abundance. You're like, no, I can't take that, or like, you're, not able to answer questions. Someone says, can I help you out with? And you're like, no, I can help you out, right? Or if you just in general rejecting all people and also you can't connect with God, it's very hard for God to help you. I mean, he does everything. He can send little bunny rabbits if that's what it is, and he will. Weirdest thing is he'll even get a plant to come try to help you out just to get you to smile and jog out of it. But I would say this is a great book if you're trying to figure out where it is, because the piece that you need is in this book. Usually, at least one piece is in it. At least one piece
Yeah.
is in it.
And it
Yeah.
may It is timeless.
It's timeless.
It is. And, bringing that up, so that's following Florence Shin followed what she thought she was to do, to be in her dharma,
Yeah.
to satisfy her soul. She put her heart and soul into this. Why? Okay? She did it because she felt to do it. And she felt doing it. And she's been long gone. She's in the whatever ascended realm she's hanging out now. But this has been going on close to 100 years.
Not a new.
What if you have the courage to say, you know what? I really feel I want to do this. I want to write that book, or I think it'll give me joy. I feel I should investigate. I feel I should travel. I feel I should, whatever it is. I feel I want to go beyond my fear and take that project on, because that's your soul saying, we want you to grow. We want you to grow. You not stay stagnant. Oh, I'm comfortable. Everything's here and there's nothing. I'm just going to do. No, it's always going to be something to push you. And let's talk about suffering for a moment. What's that about? You have many, many people who are suffering, and on many different ways and many expressions, but part of that suffering, or what I would call that not having joy in the heart, maybe might be a good thing. And as a result of that, there is a sense of sadness. Why? Because you are currently not maybe as connected as you could be, right? That the things that you're doing are not giving you the fulfillment that you feel, And so again, okay, the simple little things. I'm just going to go ahead and write an affirmation I like to program my brain to remind me how amazing and beautiful I am. And I've come here to be a light to the world, or I've come here to figure out a scientific equation, whatever it is that pulls you, that you feel passion for. You want to find passion.
Yeah.
That's another way. What's my passion? And that does require reflection and thinking. What do I get excited about? What is my passion? Then towards those things, and next thing you know, you are on your path and you are aware of it. Like May, she's one of the best astrologers I know. Do you know the amount of work and study? I looked at astrology. I know a little bit of it. I don't know to the level she does, because that took time and study and effort. But it was her passion, because she's in alignment, and her astrology readings, just like Florence Shin, ripples throughout this world, helping people. Just at that time, they get a reading or they understand something that has helped them to put that one step forward. Speaking from the heart, and how you could feel the love and the emotion that comes from Catherine. That can be very soothing for somebody. What about just somebody smiling? Just a smile in a neighborhood. I love doing that. Just what can I do to connect with God? Well, what about smiling in a grocery store, or recognizing somebody in the street that everybody has passed by, but you look to make a human connection? And the more you start to do these things, okay, the more you start to feel fulfilled, the more you feel one with the universe, with God, with the benevolence, and even through challenges. And we're all going to go through challenges. But what if you know that you could get on the other side of that challenge? There's just always going to be a way for that to happen, because you have this higher connection to who you truly are.
Now, now let's talk about what can people do to practice this? Like, should they set aside a time a day, or how should they do it? Is it once a week? Is it once a day? What is it?
Well, for me, it was dramatic. It was a weekend. Okay.
That's true. One weekend can change you aggressively if it's right time.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes. So I'll tell you what I did. somehow I resonate. I think that dream really got me like, oh my God, I could have a spiritual death. I don't want that. That doesn't sound good. Um, and so I wrote out these affirmations in this book on paper, and I pasted it all over my bedroom. So when I got up, I read it over a weekend. I read it every single day for hours, over and over. I did this for a full weekend. I did it on a Saturday, I did it on a Sunday. And when I woke up on Monday, I was different. Different. Whatever happened to I did that. I just decided to do it. But you can do it and integrate it. Simple things like having this simple thing. What about, like, I'm not a morning person, so I'm disciplined. I wish I could say I was that disciplined. I'm not, but I'm more of a night person. Okay, and then I'll just take some time for what? For me to read. Okay, like knowledge. I want to read, well, what did the Egyptians say? What is their belief system? What about the Romans? What about the Gnostic Gospels, which is one of my favorites? Okay. And I'm beginning to learn, studying and knocking on the door to seek. Seeking is huge. And again, you're falling with the action. I want to know what's going on. I want to talk to God. I want God to talk to me. I want to know it's real. Then you start, go into the library or go into a bookstore and put forth the intention. Everybody could do this. Tomorrow morning, you go into a bookstore, just walk around and say, I'm going to have a book that's going to assist and help me to move forward. And you glance and you see a title that calls to you. Get it. Pay for it and read it. These are the signs, synchronicities. And that's another topic we need to talk about, is synchronicity.
Definitely do that on a different episode. That's a great topic because synchronicities are definitely sent by God. Catherine, do you have any fun practices that you use or that you started with to try to, because it's called spiritual practice for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the word practice.
So I first began by feeling. I would practice feeling something. So in the very beginning, I was clearing and alchemizing a lot of anxiety and fear. And so it came in from spirit for me to, during meditation, was to practice feeling safe. And that feeling would honestly, in the very beginning, only last for seconds at a time. It would pop out and I'd have to pull it back in. Right. And I was like, what is this doing? And spirit told me that the more I can practice feeling safe, the more it will ground into my energetic field, into manifestation. And that will become a new baseline frequency for me. It would be to feel safe, because it was very important for me to feel safe and to begin to trust again. Then from there, once I was able to begin feeling safe, it was very important for me to go into the heart and practice feeling love. And it might be for anything, my cat, my friend, the bird that was outside, whatever it was that I could connect with, to practice feeling the energy and the frequency of love. Now, after doing that for a few years, I'm in that same alignment as Baba Sharon was just saying. It's very important it was for me for feeling, but now it's time to grasp the knowledge and the wisdom and merge it with the feeling of those frequencies of the highest benevolence. So now I'm reading every day.
Wow.
Something, even if it's just a little bit, one chapter, 20 minutes, whatever it might be. I'm doing that to read every day because as we can change and shift our frequency in the beginning, what we're feeling, we have to have that knowledge and that wisdom to continue to grow and expand in that consciousness, right? Because it is body, mind, and spirit. And we have to, as as the ascended masters brought in their knowledge, right? And now they're able to co-create on the highest benevolent level, right? We have to have that knowledge, their teachings, so we can further embody our own mastery and live in alignment and the highest frequency with them. You know?
Yeah. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. And I wanted to say to May, to share, because I know that May is the person who says, I really want to, I feel I want to help this person. Helping people gives her great joy.
It's true.
Yeah.
I choose to want to help too. So
helping people. That's her joy. Then she also is a person that will say, well, I got to figure this out. I have to understand, why is this happening? The inquisitive mind, that fall into the category of seekers. Hello?
I'm curious.
Seeker, seekers. Everybody's a seeker. Okay. Now you have to act on the seeking.
That's true.
Okay. You can say, I'm going to just stay on the couch and just watch them. But if you want to be happy and joyful, I think this is what everybody wants, right? Some joy. Okay. Then it is absolutely worth for you to seek. You try different things. Okay. I've gone to so many different type of to any place of worship. It didn't matter, synagogue. It didn't matter, whether it was an ashram. It didn't matter. It was I was just curious, like, hey, what's going on here? And then you meet different people. They give point of view. You give your point of, okay. And just like with May, her joy is helping people and also seeking to know more. That's called a spiritual path. And that's an aspect that every one of us has. You don't have to be super spiritual, and that you have to just be on that path to God. And the connection is always there, but to make it stronger and to experience it in your life. And you know what you'll find? You'll be smiling and happy like May all the time.
I am really happy a lot. It's actually
she emanates joy. Okay. I've seen other people, they don't emanate that. Okay. So we want to be like joyfulness, like how May has that joy. Easy to smile, easy to help out. And then you start finding the higher heart of compassion and unconditional love, and say, I just can't have this for myself. What about others? Because then that part of your awareness is like, oh my gosh, we're all connected. And hey, what's going on anyway? I need to figure this stuff out. And then that's going to be that journey. In all traditions, it talks about the path, walking on the path, doing the work.
I would say, and this is something that we all know to be true, but is not obvious in general. And that is that I think you're supposed to be happy. And then when you're not happy, it's supposed to help you understand that a change is required or that a push is required. So it's hard because when you're unhappy, you mostly just experience it as miserable. But what there's like a transmutation you have to do where you change that unhappy as like, oh, we're going left, we should be going right, and you almost have to train yourself to do that for a while until it becomes more natural.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you emanate that, May. I just want to say you do.
Thank you.
And you know what is
okay, there is some practice involved with this. I'm not gonna lie. There's some
right
practice.
But that is supposed to be our default.
Yeah.
Why would you think back as a little kid? I always have to go back. You look a baby, a brand new baby, the biggest smile.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes in, little babies come in how?
Yeah.
They're smiling all the time. And then the program and all of that starts happening, and they almost forgot that joy, but that is the spark they came in, and we all are encouraged, if, in fact responsible, I would say, to recapture that spark that we have and make it into a huge flame. Because when you do, if you look at people that are on this, they are generally happy and smiling and helpful. And not to say that they don't go through challenges, we all do. Okay, but you can keep your peace even of chaos because you're connected. Then you become more discerning, more aware, and that you can, I don't care what's going on, you can then begin to live your life with more grace and ease, no matter what's going on around you. Because you hold that vibration. It's a higher frequency of light, and it's real.
It's kind of an interesting thing because when you see a really like frowny looking kid, you're like, that's weird. But when you see a frowny looking adult, you just think that's normal. That's kind of a strange
Yeah.
thing. Just to
So,
give you a sense for how weird the programming actually is. So, at what point is it? I mean, okay, I get it. There is this period we call teenaging, teenagers, and those kids, they're not mostly smiley. So, but if the natural state before, just think about it. Is all I'm saying. It's just
so May, I have a question for you because you said you have this upliftment, the joy. What is your practice?
I just leave New York periodically.
She's so
I'm
funny.
only half joking. I'm only half joking. Okay.
Half joking.
Half joking, half joking. Okay, so I do actually, and this it's always a work in progress. It's always developing, and I would say that for me, as I've been, at first I didn't understand I was even connecting to God, right? I would just naturally want to do things that required what I call the creative spark, and I believe. And I think you guys agree with me, but we've never talked about it, that all of the artistic stuff you do, similar like gardening also fits this, anything that people do as a joyful hobby, that's where it's easiest to find your connection to God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know that that's what I was actually doing when I was like, I need to go karaoke or I need to go do something else after a really long day. Some people, they do other things that are a little harder to find God and drink and stuff like that. And listen, I've had my fair share of drinks in this lifetime. So like,
Me too.
no, yeah, exactly. So that's not what we're saying, nor are we encouraging or discouraging either way. But there are some things that you do, hobbies that you naturally like. So I would actively seek these out. I used to be really miserable in my old job, not gonna lie. There were things that were great about it, and I appreciate every moment of it. I even know why I had to go through it at this point. So early days, it was just about trying to reconnect myself with joy. Travel is probably my biggest joy, and travel has some unique characteristics in that for folks that don't have the fear of travel, because some people really do, and then it's not as pleasant. But if you have more of an excitement for travel, it knocks you out. It's why sometimes people will see a situation, particularly for young people, and they'll say, you need to get out of this arrangement just to change a pace situation. So what I realized now that was happening during that period of my life was I was removing myself from the stimulation of and the act of, that was causing me to be not happy. And then I went through this literal journey, right, of going to country, and I would, take the Instagram pictures and stuff, right? And I noticed in the pictures, even when I go backwards, when I'm not happy and I look back, I'm like, I remember this wasn't faked. I legitimately was happy. And so over the course of the many years that I was doing the nomadic stuff, I think I'll always be a nomad at heart because I now realize why I'm doing it. Whereas first I was just doing it. But during the course of all of that, I realized that for a lot of people, not everybody, but travel, because it takes you out of your element, brings you back to the present, which makes it a little bit harder to hear all those monkey voices. And so if you've actually gotten to a place, or for me, when I was at that point, I got into a place where every negative thing people were saying on a given day you know, you're gonna have a lot of haters in this lifetime if you're doing anything right. And you can't let
Oh
the
yeah,
haters get into the monkey mind and be a thing.
correct.
And that's what I had
Correct.
done as part of many things that were part of my monkey mind. So, you know, at first, so the travel washed it all out. And I even joked, I think I told Baba Sharon this one time, I was in Vietnam. And notoriously, Vietnam is known for having crazy traffic such that you can't cross the street. And I'd gone into a spot again here in New York because New York does that sometimes. And I went to Vietnam and I was just trying to cross the road. I was like, oh, I'm going to die. I need to focus. Right. So I start focusing. I feel this Zen overcome me. And almost like, because, you know, because it's easier for me now to hear when God's talking to me. It's like, see, now you're not thinking about it. So I was like, and then I was sharing this, like somebody was asking me, you know, what do you think about the trial? I ran into these stranger tourists because when you're traveling a lot of times in a foreign country in particular, you're so out of your zone. You just talk to strangers. You won't assume all strangers are horrible, whatever it is. And some of that's because of context. You're in like a nice hotel or a nice restaurant. They're clearly also Americans. So you strike up a conversation. But I was tired. They were like, what do you think about the traffic? And I was like, I find the traffic to be Zen, almost meditative. They're like, what? Then I explained him to her. I explained them why, you know, my logic for how I was like, you know, I can't think about anything else. I can only think about surviving on the street. And you have like getting all those voices out of my head. It's the most pleasant thing I've felt in a while.
Right.
But then their question to me was even like, what about the honking? Don't you find that noise really obnoxious? I'm like, you know, I find the noise as an attempt to be helpful. You know, and
I won't run you over.
most people in life, they might not be saying it in the prettiest of words. They're just honking at you. That's really all it is. I'm here. I acknowledge. Thank you for not running into me. And I think, and you know, this analogy, I just feel like was God sent as far as that goes. And something
You know, I was also going to say that reminds me, there's a book called Teen Prophecy, and that came out many, many, many years ago. But one of the key things I got out of that book, because sometimes your growth requires you to get out of your comfort zone.
yeah,
Okay. You have to like go, because it is growth.
yeah.
You know, there's a whole evolutionary process over here. And I remember this time in my life, and I did have fear. I'm like, oh my gosh, something happened out of the blue. I didn't expect for it to happen. You know, how am I going to deal with this now? And this book came into my life, which I think everybody should hang out in libraries and just look at books that may come to you like this one. But in reading that book, it said, hey, because a lot of times the controlling factor is what? Fear. Fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal on this planet, right? It's been very effective. It's been used very effectively. And it had me look and say, why don't you look at life or whatever it is that you're fearing as an adventure? You travel someplace you've never before. You have the expectation that you're going to have a wonderful time.
I do. Occasionally it creeps up on me in the weird way, but then I realize I have a lot of faith. I have
Yes.
a lot of faith now.
And then you are, because you have that, you're what? Frequency. We're all frequency.
Yes.
Okay, we're all frequency. You're holding that frequency. So you could actually walk across in Zen of all of that, because of the frequency. The cars will like bow or something as you're walking. Because you have this, and that
We gotta
is,
watch the Brilliant Road.
we attract what it is we're holding frequency with the most, you know? And that's so, and then so to get to that point, if you come up and say, well, no, I'm really fearful to be my authentic self. I'm really fearful. I don't know. I've been so programmed. If I read this book, there are a lot of people who have to deconstruct what they've been indoctrinated in. And that's a real thing. And then at some point, you have a small voice and say, who are you? No, really, truly, who are you? And that may require for you to say, I don't know who I am, really. That may require to say, I'm not sure if I'm going on with this family tradition. It doesn't make me feel good. I need to go and inquire. I want to feel good. I want to feel fulfilled. And when you start doing that, it's going to require you to go past the limitations, okay, that fear has restricted you. You have to be prepared to say, you know what usually happens too with a spiritual awakening? When somebody says, I just can't take this anymore. I don't care. Okay, then all of a sudden, it's like it came to the point, to the brink. Okay, they took it all the way to the brink till they finally said, I can't do this anymore. And they didn't care, and they found freedom.
Yeah.
They found freedom. So I want to say to all of our listeners, that take courage and know that you put forth the intention sincerely. Not say, let's do it and see what happens. No, that's not going to work. Sincerely. So I sincerely want to have a connection. Is there really a God? I want to know if there's a God, or by whatever name you call it. Is there something more? Is there something benevolent in the universe? Is there something that can protect me and guide me? Is there something out there? I truly, truly want to know. And if you're there, please speak to me and guide me. And then you start to pay attention. And you say, I feel I should go on this trip. Yeah, you should go on that trip. Maybe there's something in that trip, as you said, May, meet somebody or meet a person like May. Hey, I can help you with that. What's your question? I could help you. I know where to refer you to, right? Or any one of us. So, yeah, I think that's really important that one, your authenticity is important. Two, you get past your fear. Okay. And three, whatever deprogramming and reprogram you need to do, get on top of that, or any healing. If you're walking around with trauma, okay, then do what you need to do to heal that so the light can come in.
Yeah.
Can't come in, there's big blockages there, like your kryptonite. You have to heal that, balance it for the light to come in, which was what Catherine was talking about.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back to what Catherine was talking about, because I think this is a really good point. It resonates in all three of our stories, which is kind of the first stuff that God tells you is how to improve your frequency. Definitely for me. That's true for you, right, Catherine?
Absolutely. Because I was just going to add into what Baba Sharon was just saying about setting the intention, but then it all comes back. Then you have to trust, right? So you have to trust yourself and what you're receiving, because in the beginning, when I was told to practice feeling safe, it was also about trusting. And I said, how am I supposed to trust something that I don't see? But I was actually then guided to begin trusting the things that I can, right? So it was, how can I best explain this? So we have this fear programming. Oh, we got to lock our doors, right? Our front doors have to be locked. Our car doors have to be locked. And I'm not advocating for somebody to just leave everything out in the open. But what I am saying is that the majority of the people, from my experience, are trustworthy, right? And so it was very important on the journey to begin to look for the areas where I could trust people, where people here are genuinely good. We are born good. It's just the programming and everything that's come into play that has disrupted that.
And so I have a question for you before you get too far.
Yeah.
So now we've been talking about the whisper and the voice, but there's a lot of different ways God can communicate. So can we help the people just to indicate all the different, because when you can't hear it at first, it's hard for you to see that you're being communicated with a little bit.
Yeah. So In the very beginning for me, everything just came on. My vision came on, my hearing came on. It was
Good way.
extremely intense, very intense. As the time has gone on, things have kind of settled down a little bit. But communication comes in so many different ways. You can feel heart pulls, right? Or if there's a vibration or resonance that happens that you feel within that says, oh, this feels good. This feels like joy. This feels like happiness. There's different ways that you can also set up communication with the divine, with your spirit guides, where you could say, like, for me, if I receive a zing on my left hand, that's a yes. And a zing on my right hand is a no.
Huh.
So what's that?
I didn't know you could do that.
You can do that. You can absolutely do that. You can have pulls all over your body that you can set up as communication with your team to have it as a somatic thing. But also the things that come in will be a frequency, and then the frequency has to come in and you have to just like sit in it for a few moments, right? And kind of decode's the word that's coming in, but that's not really the word that I was going to use. My mind just went blank, but that's okay. So we have to just take that in a moment and then just say, okay, this was what that feeling is. But there's a message that comes with it, right? Because some of us can see, some of us hear, some of us feel. And I think it's, you can strongly develop, like if you feel like you're feeling your clairsentience is your main one, lean into it, right? And yes, you absolutely can say, this is how I want to receive these things. And then just continue, because we're conscious creators, right? So we set that intention with the universe and say, this is how I want to receive it. And then you just allow, and you have to trust it, right? So when you begin to feel your pings or your thoughts, the whispers, the lights that may come through, you have to just listen and trust it. And I think it's very important to come back into that frequency of trust when you set that intention to receive, that you're trusting what you're getting, especially if it feels light, right? If it feels light, if it feels in love, if it feels in joy, that's the direction to go. Because I have had many nights where I have visions, right? But the visions may come with no feeling. That doesn't do much for me. How am I supposed to follow and lead with that? Because we can see anything, but it's our feeling that is the big guidance system with it.
What about you, Baba Strone? Do you have anything to add on that one?
Well,
You've seen some
I
also,
want to, huh?
and you've talked to hundreds, thousands of people at this point. If there's other things that you think folks should know.
Yeah, I do want to bring in, and I think it's important in this discussion, is synchronicity.
Yeah.
Because those are the signs.
Yeah.
Those are the signs, okay? And everybody here listening to this, we all have an intellect. We're all co-creators, intelligence. Okay, we're really created in an amazing way. All right. And that is why when you come into your authenticity, nobody can gaslight you. Because you're not just depending on that. You have a higher thing. So, you're like radar. Okay. And we are energetic beings. So we have vibrations. In fact, we have electrical within our ATP, within our body. I mean, we are just amazing beings. And the communication, I want to say, first of all, can come in uniquely for that individual person. Somebody may feel it. Somebody may be more telepathic. Somebody more tactile. It could come in any way, because even though we're all one, we are all unique in our journey, right? So you then, as they say the word, pay attention how it comes to you. You can never, ever compare yourself to another.
Yeah,
Ever.
that's
That person is moving in the way and how it is that connection for them, which would be completely different in how it comes in for you. So, one person to another. That's number one. Number two, as I mentioned before, get past fear. Okay, do what you need to do that. Look at it as an adventure. Hey, it's an adventure. I wonder what's going to happen today. The number three is, the paying attention. Now, how can that happen? I'm going to give you a signal that will work. All of us here know this. It's called synchronicity. So, for example, you're like thinking of a person. Say, gee, I haven't seen or spoken to, Mary in the longest time, and she just comes into your mind. Just comes into your mind out of the clear blue. You get a call from her, or somebody tells you, Mary Jane. He said, about her. I was just thinking about her, and she calling or somebody mentioning her name when you haven't thought about her in forever. That's synchronicity. Then you start to develop that synchronicity. You say, oh, if there's a God out there, I really want to feel connected. I really, really do. Um, um, Please help me. And you go outside, okay, and out of, like, say, a field of, let's say New York, there's a lot of junk on the ground and stuff that maybe, no, when I was there in Brooklyn, they cleaned it up. But anyway, let's just say you're in a place, okay, and it looks pretty dreary, but there's a flower that comes out of this dreary place, okay? Is that an accident? Out of all the things you could look at, there goes a flower. And if you say, I think this is significant, just say it. I said, look at that. I noticed this flower, all the environment, there goes that flower. And then you go, you see, I'm just going to go and I'm going to get a cup of Starbucks. And as you're standing there, you're looking at a painting, and there goes a picture of a flower. Okay. And you're like, okay, I think that is significant, right? And then you go about your business, and somebody says, oh my gosh, I just came from the botanical gardens. You should see the flowers that are there.
that's true.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's called synchronicity. Now, God talks through synchronicities. He's not going to show up and like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's pretty rare.
Pretty advanced.
Okay.
Very advanced.
Yeah.
Can happen.
Not to say that could never happen. Perhaps somebody hears you walk your path, but mostly it's more subtle. Always been there. It's just that you're waking up to it. It's always been there. Hello, hello. Okay. And the override, remember the override, not seeing it, just, I got to do this. This has to happen. I'm not happy. This person is, causing me problems in my life, and this is not resolved. Take a deep breath.
Yep.
Start with the breath. Just breathe. Just breathe. Get into a point of reflection and prayer, simple prayer. Help me, guide me. And then saying, okay, one little step at a time, because what it is a journey. It's a healing journey. It's a spiritual journey. It continues on and on. And and sometimes you'll get knocked off of it. That happens a lot. Like, oops, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go into the depth of a black hole because I wasn't perfect. No, you just get back on track.
Yeah.
New
York can be a test.
Right.
Taking the subway can be a real test to that. I'm not going to lie.
Oh my gosh. But you have retrieved mastery when you can be in Zen in the subway.
In the subway.
And then I tell you what else is going to happen. When you receive that level of Zen or guidance, and you're holding that vibration, okay, you're holding, and even in the subway, okay, you walk in.
Rush hour subway.
Rush hour subway. and somebody can say, "Oh, I'm sorry, after you," or
Aw,
"Here, do you want my
yes.
seat?"
Nice day.
Or "Here, have a nice day." No, good things can happen in the midst of
We
chaos
absolutely can. It's true.
because it's your vibration. It's like that person, everybody's at a party and nobody's doing anything. Then you have that high vibe person coming, "Hey, everybody, I'm here." Then everybody starts dancing and moving. They brought the energy in.
Mhm.
We are vibratory beings. You better believe it. And a lot of our unconscious, that's why we want to make conscious the unconscious, go into those reflective parts. What parts of you are hiding that you don't? If you start saying, "Gee, I don't know why I'm doing this," go ahead and get some. I think everybody should be in therapy because there's hidden parts of the brain we don't even know. Like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was 3 years old, that happened. That has been, some teacher said something, and that has been your programming subconsciously. But what is the blessing as you seek God? God is seeking you, has always been there.
Always there.
It comes to your attention. Hi, this is how you can improve yourself. Catherine, did you have to overcome fear?
Oh,
On your
my God.
spiritual path? Did you
Wait,
have to
that part is-
overcome fear?
So much.
Yeah.
So much fear I had to overcome. And it still creeps in. I still work on it. There's still new layers that come up that are meant to be alchemized into the higher frequencies. Absolutely. But one of the things that I did want to just add on to what you were speaking as far as the synchronicities and as far as people connecting with the divine and listening was it comes back into the alignment of when I was speaking of trusting um my outside reality to be able to trust something that I couldn't see. And that was the synchronicities. Trusting, when I began to really trust the synchronicities that were happening that I could physically see, that was my confirmation for me to be able to begin trusting this communication. This communication that was taking place between me and the universe, between me and God. And I think that it was a beautiful process. And in that process, I was able to release a lot of the fear because that trust was there, you know? That trust knowing that even though I might the reflection, the fear may be there, that my family of light is there one step of the way. And there is this surrendering that can take place from this fear and just surrendering over, knowing that everything that's taking place is for you and it's come a place of love and benevolence. So
And that is so useful.
Yeah, it's very
It's
useful.
this
I think if you don't, if you're not connected to the vine, it's okay because he's connected to you or they're connected to
mhm,
you. Okay, so it's not like you're ever truly disconnected. It's just whether or not you feel like
right.
using that power up, if you will, for lack of a better word. But I would also mention too, in this kind of beautiful way, I do think sometimes people feel, and it's particularly true for folks that are very their only experience with higher power is in an organized fashion, and they might hear about other people from their church or their synagogue or whatever it is their belief system. They might hear about those folks praying at home or what have you. They may have learned a very formal way of doing it. You really don't have to be that formal. You know what I mean? It is kind of a personal dialogue,
yeah,
and
Yep.
knows when you're having a bad day. So you know what I mean? So we still want to try to speak nicely to but in fairness, it doesn't care. You just need to communicate.
Right. And so that takes another level, and it brings it again, because that's a very important component. Because as I mentioned before, we're born into an indoctrination system
Yeah.
from our parents, from teachers, from religious, leaders of various, different denominations and stuff like that. And I guess as a little kid, I remember that, I was told how I was brought up that the particular organized religion I was part of, that was the only way to get to heaven, right?
Mhm.
And I was so concerned about all the people that were good people, but they weren't part of this particular religious organization. I really stressed over it. Like, oh my God, you mean Aunt Mary is not going to go to heaven? Which on some level that made absolutely no sense. Okay, but I just remember that. And later on, as being part of my authentic journey, okay, I just remember reading stuff I wrote in the third grade and the fourth grade. I went to a religious school. It was very specific, how things were. And I looked years later what I wrote. I said, oh my gosh, look how indoctrinated I was. I was. But then I had to follow my feeling, which is what Catherine is talking about. You may not understand it mentally. Have you ever had where you have a feeling? It's like I just have this bad feeling about something. Okay. And then later on you find out why you felt bad because the feeling came first before the mental part did. But what tends to happen, people ignore the feeling and go by the mental part.
Mhm.
Right. We have to kind of flip it, like come from the heart knowledge knows, and then the mental will figure it out later on. Okay, so at some point you could say, what if everybody stayed the same and never changed generation after generation? What if everybody was stuck in the thing and dare to be your authentic self, right? And just look at, back early in the Middle Ages and before, you had, Michelangelo and others, that were like heretics and they would kill him. And turns out they were right. Okay. So also, I just want to say for those that are trying to make, maybe, maybe you're to be a Buddhist, okay, or maybe, okay, your connection to God is in nature, or maybe you're an advocate, or maybe you feel that help people suffering. Maybe you're the hospice nurse. Okay, maybe you are taking care of children. And maybe you're that person that when anybody comes around you, they feel better.
Mm.
Maybe you're that person, and whichever way that happens to you, because everybody's connected to divine. There's no person that is not. And this is the other big stepper. That big stepper is, am I worthy and will I be forgiven? There might be a program in there that says, oh, look what you did and you're not worthy. Okay. And you're the only idiot around. Everybody else is doing better than you. And the monkey talk is just so amazing, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
Okay. And just what if you say, okay, I got to do something new. I'm going to take that affirmation, or I'm going to do it. I'm going to program myself how worthy I am, that I can be loved, okay, and that I know that there's a benevolence over there, no bad, whatever I've done that I perceive to be awful, terrible, everyone can be forgiven.
Mhm.
There's some people who can't forgive themselves, and you have to do whatever it is that you have to do to take those tiny steps to start to heal, to bring awareness if you're not aware, to get out of the rat race, to really tap into who you are. And then the divine, I promise you, Catherine promises you, May promises you, when you do that, the love of the divine will begin to reveal itself to you, that you'll be able to see it and understand it on your journey.
Yeah.
On your journey.
Well, we are almost at an hour and 30 minutes, and I feel like we've had some watchers, but not necessarily interacting. That's okay. That's okay. You know, any
it's,
things that we
it's
haven't
all
covered.
good.
Yeah. Are there any things you feel like we haven't covered that could be helpful to folks at different parts of their? So for the person that really is like, I don't even know if there's a God. This is really awkward, but yet they're somehow watching parts of this. You know, what would so then there's probably someone in the middle who has a lot of faith but hasn't been able to connect with God. Let's do like kind of a quick one. And then for folks that are connected to God and want to know what's next.
Oh,
So three
So,
different people that we're talking to.
so yeah,
What would be your like big like last minute one, maybe do it in a quick like rapid fire. So
go ahead, Catherine.
for the one person that may think that they don't think that they have that connection, that connection isn't there, I just wanted to share a quick story of an experience that I had. I was out meditating at Siesta Key one night, and it was pretty profound meditation experience that I had. And when I opened my eyes, everybody on the beach, everybody had their cord that attaches up to their higher selves, to God, to the divine. Everybody, not one person on that beach did not have that cord, that connection. So that connection is already there.
yeah.
It's just a matter of nourishing it, right? It's a matter of just setting that intention and nourishing that connection and strengthening it down.
Yeah, you got to practice using the connection. That's all. The
And
cable is installed. You just got to hook up the TV, okay?
and I would add one more thing in closing. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Love yourself, because you are a divine creation made. Your true essence is love. So love yourself.
that's very true. I think that's a really important one because sometimes people don't even realize that that some of their words or some of their actions demonstrate a lack of self-love. God clearly loves you, so you are literally raging against that love a little bit. So that might make you feel disconnected, but just like even and I know some people have very tormentous relationships with their parents in this lifetime, but moms typically do love their children. They may just not always show it in the way that the child would like to see it, so to speak, so that they can interpret it.
But God loves you.
God loves you exactly how you need to be loved. If you want to rage against him, that's cool. But at the same time, it is really fun to be connected. It is really fun and I think that's probably the message that I would give to all three groups myself is I love the love thing. That's true. I love the idea we're all connected. But I think the other part is that it is actually really, really fun to be connected.
It is.
Because the
We're
way,
all smiling.
the way you see the world is just really, really beautiful. It's so much like, it's not that I ever thought this world was a horrible place. No, I think I had a very blessed life in some ways. In other ways, there were my trials and tribulations. But I will say it is significantly more fun once you strengthen that connection. All the people that you're now easily able to see that God is sending you into your life, all the synchronicities, all the random things that just happen. It is a lot of fun. Okay, so there's fun on the other side of this thing.
There is, and May, bringing that up, the only other thing I would say, if you make this commitment, right, you may lose some friends.
Oh, that's true. There might be a little bit of travel you have to go through.
Sometimes you'll be on this path alone. Keep on walking, because you'll start attracting those people in your new frequency band, and you'll have your tribe.
Yeah.
Be your authentic self, and you'll attract those around you. It's an amazing and beautiful journey. It's
such a great point, because if you are in one frequency, you have absolutely attracted the environment associated with that frequency, the people of that frequency. So as your frequency changes, it's so interesting. We might do that as a different thing. It's just, what is this frequency everybody's talking about?
Right. Yeah.
Because
we can get into it at atomic levels. Yeah.
So we will potentially do a show on this frequency, but it is actually true. And you can think of it this way: when you're really unhappy, and that's your everyday frequency, and you know people that are like this, in case you're watching this and you're mostly, but you know people where being around happy people actually makes them very irritated or triggered. So that is a frequency difference. But as your frequency changes, you might actually trigger all these people, which is part of the reason why you gotta find your tribe
You got to
elsewhere.
ease on out.
That probably is a pretty good idea for another show at some point. So, okay.
Yes, but you'll attract a whole new tribe, the high vibe tribe.
The high vibe tribe. It will be a lot of fun. Imagine being around a bunch of happy people. Like right now, if you're in a low vibration, that may sound like the worst possible thing, but as it grows, it gets better. All right.
Yep.
Any last words before we end the stream? No? All right,
We
guys.
love you all.
We love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Mwah! Till next time. Take care.